Public comment section, seeing no public, we'll move on to the approval of minutes. Do I hear a motion for the approval of minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of vouchers. Vouchers have been included in your packet. Is there any questions about the voucher? Well, do I hear a motion for approval of vouchers?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
So with the motion and second, any discussion? Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes carried. Approval of monthly reports for July. Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry.
As you see, we're in our first month of the fiscal year, and we're reporting, and happily, we're in a positive position already, and there's a good reason for that. We feel very good about how we're recovering with the economy and our industry over this COVID problem, and all things seem to be pointing in the right direction. I know, Dudley, you probably have a lot more to say. He told me not to take all of his cool stuff, so.
I mean, the actual year to date, 308,000, I'd only projected 57,000 because I didn't realize we're gonna have such a good month of sales. And our expenses are 57,000 less than we expected in the electric department. So you start the year off 251,000 ahead of the forecast, that's a good thing. Real quickly, our long-term partnership credit, we got 116,000 for August, which is next month. Our year-to-date is 242,000, puts us at 1.2 million since we started. That's a great thing. The degree days, this is part of why we had a good month in July. We had it was much higher than last year and the our 10-year average, so 15-year actually. So it was a good hot month. August is going to be probably about normal, so it's good. The water department, sales were up 14,000 more than anticipated, but down 6,000 in the sewer. Expenses were pretty close, so we're pretty much right on target in the water and sewer department. But good month, nothing big to report either way.
I had a water leak last month, so I pretty much am responsible for the positive position. And thankfully, Steve has got a water leak this month.
I've taken it up.
We'll look forward to next month and how that impacts us.
Can you estimate your leak depending on how fast that little star
Yes,
sends?
yes, we can. It's going very, very fast. It's a lot. We call that a lot.
I was afraid of that.
Any questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
And a second anywhere?
I'll approve. Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes carried, motion approved. Project status reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You see, we're tracking 3 work orders, and we've already discussed the top 2 on Tillery Road and West Wolf Valley. I'll be glad to, they're going very well, and I won't bore you with repetitive comments on that. I will speak to this first time you've seen this new one. This project was approved last month at our board meeting, and it's approximately 0.6 miles of 3-phase number 4 copper primer conductor and 0.3 miles of number 2 ACSR primary conductors, and we're replacing that with 4-0 AAC aerial cable on Westwood Drive. This is one of our most heavily loaded copper 3-phase lines, and this upgrade will provide additional capacity and improve reliability, which all of us in Westwood will be glad of. Additionally, it will provide a feeder tie line, which is what we always try to do, between 25W and Spring Street, which gives us the flexibility with our Flizzer to do more switching options. We're starting construction this month, and we should be completed by December of this year. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, unless someone has a question on some of these other projects.
Mr. Fay, does this require us to make any motion there?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. Moving on then to other business.
Other business, thank you. First, on the 15th of August, we received the results of our safety audit, which is conducted annually, and it was conducted this year on August the 12th. It has over 300 specific compliance tests, and this year CUB received a perfect score. We're very proud of that. We received accolades from several areas. One from our Mr. Anthony Salvatore, who is the Senior Vice President for Arthur and Gallagher Company, and that's one of the companies that works with our insurance. So they were very complimentary. It's not easy to get a perfect score when you've got over 300 items that they go down. Some of the comments that the auditor made was the Clinton Utilities Board consistently scores well on the safety audit process. CUB has always corrected any items marked on the audit checklist and following any recommendations the auditor has noted in the audit summary. Obviously, there weren't any. And congratulations on a perfect score for your 2020 safety audit. So, very proud of that, and the credit goes to a lot of good folks that are out there working with it every day. This gets both electric and water, and we appreciate our employees' attitude and concentration to whatever project they're on, that safety is number one. In our program, it includes external safety training, as you know, in education. We contract with Tennessee Job Safety and Training, JT&S. They come in, they do training for us and do a lot of oversight through the state. We also contract with Ernie Bowles, Bowles Consulting. He provides targeted training, supervised inspections, and regulatory compliance, and if necessary, accident investigation. And one of the things that we task him with is we've got about 25 written policies that require regular research and revision. And these policies are OSHA mandated, they're written policies, as well as federally required written policies like the oil spills that we have. Ernie stays on top of that for us. So we're getting a real bargain out of that, and I think our perfect score adds to what we think is a well-run safety machine. So next, on August the 3rd, you may remember that President Trump responded to what everyone now considers and would have considered at the time had we had an opportunity to address it, a very poor political decision made by TVA to replace many of its in-house technology workers with contract workers that rely on foreign workers under the H-1B visa program. That essentially caused Trump to remove 2 board members, including its chair, Skip Thomason. He also called for the replacement of Jeff Lyash, which is TVA's CEO. The following day, I emailed Jeff a letter of support and willingness to speak in his defense of him personally, as well as the successful public power model we have here in the Valley. I received a personal email back from him the following day, thanking me for the support and looking forward to a time when we can have a quiet sit-down together, he said. You may also remember that I was asked by TVA to serve on their steering committee. This committee is made up of a small group representing the 7 states in the TVA Valley, as well as TVA's direct serves. We had our first meeting on July the 10th, and in light of the political disaster on August the 3rd, and in preparation for TVA's board meeting on August the 26th, Dan Pratt, TVA's vice president, called for an emergency steering committee meeting on the 21st of August. And the purpose of that meeting was to determine what, if any, communication should be made to the TVA board by the LPCs concerning Jeff and the public power model going forward. In the steering committee meeting on the 21st, it was determined that I would speak to the public power model and Jeff's contribution and compensation. Prior to the TVA board meeting, I submitted a letter to TVA detailing my support as well as to get on the public record. I embraced the opportunity to lay out the facts, the history, and the vision for the public power model in the Valley and addressed Jeff's contribution. Quite frankly, I can tell you I felt well rehearsed and versed on how to speak to someone's contribution and the fact that you generally get what you pay for. Given the dialogue during the meeting with the new chair, as well as the other TVA members, and the follow-up communications that I received not only from TVA but from other power distributor managers, it was well received what was said. I also understand that TVA is using some of the quotes in some of their publications. As a matter of fact, they have done that. I've got a copy of some of that. You may also remember that this past June, I was asked by our county mayor to participate in a Zoom meeting with Senator Blackburn. In that meeting, I petitioned the senator for federal financial relief for the public power distributors in the Valley. We've gone through this COVID. The federal government has made a lot of funds available to a lot of good folks, needing folks, but the public power, the power companies as well as the wastewater and water companies, in our efforts to accommodate and address and be sensitive to our customers, where we held off terminations, we excused late charges there, and we've also we bought a lot of computers, and there is a labor issue in terms of time. There's a real dollar value that we can assign to our decisions that we made and that was directly responsible to the COVID crisis. And we have not received anything. Senator Blackburn in that meeting assured me that she was going to address what she considered was an oversight, and that in the future we should be able to access some federal dollars to help offset some of these real costs that we've incurred. Well, I'm still hopeful that that's going to happen, but we're still waiting for that to happen. So what TVA has done is, following an extraordinarily good financial year, they allocated $200 million to a pandemic credit. And this will be allocated to the direct serves, what TVA directly serves, and then also to the local power companies. And in that, they've got two pieces. And those two pieces are for the large commercial customers. And they've got that by section. There will be a direct pass-through of the wholesale power rate of about 2.5%, which evaluates maybe at a 1.5, roughly, at a retail rate. That's a direct pass-through. Then they, at the discretion of the LPC, how the remainder of that allocation, whether it be through a pass-through or cost recovery for expenses incurred, that they left to the discretion of the LPC. So essentially, where we're at right now is starting next month, which is in TVA's 2021 fiscal year, they are going to give us a credit on our wholesale power bill. And part of that will naturally flow as a pass-through or an offset reduction to the industrial customers. Then we get to determine how or if there is a pass-through or that we use that credit to recover the cost that we've already incurred. Now, it's my understanding that the overwhelming majority of power companies have look to this as a reduction in power cost, therefore a reduction in expense, therefore essentially it will offset some of the increase in expense that they've already incurred. So there is no pass-through associated with that. What I want to do is recommend something to you, and that's what we're struggling with. Dudley and I have been struggling with that ever since this came up, as to how best should it be represented here at Cub. Now, what our best determination is that for the large industrial customers, it could mean as much, just north of 200,000. And for spread out over the 30,000 of the rest of them, it's probably just south of $1 million. So what we're looking at when we divide that out by 30,000 customers, annually we're looking at $30-some over the 12-month period, or about $2.60-some a month. You know, so it's not impactful once that spread starts. So we think, and this is what, and I'm not going to ask for a vote tonight unless you want to, where we're leaning towards, I want to give you a heads up, is we're going to look at these costs, and where we're leaning towards is a partial pass-through, where our customers will receive, you know, maybe 50% of this pass-through to them, and the other 50% goes to offset the bad debts, offset the additional labor costs, offset the additional costs that we've incurred through a lack of late charges and things like that associated with that. And we think that that may help balance that scale somewhat. So while we should see that credit starting in October, I hope to come back and recommend, and unless we get blindsided, that will be pretty much our recommendation, that we pass through to the large industrial customers as required through this TVA credit, and that we, because we have the discretion to do that, segregate 50% of that credit to the rest of our customers, which is about 30,000. And the other 50% we leave as a reduction in wholesale power costs, which in essence is an increase in revenue. The fact that we don't have to pay that, it will increase our revenue, which will offset some of these costs that we've already incurred.
Greg, do you care, I think we should think about it, but could you put that like in a written form, like in an email, and
Sure.
and send that out to the board members?
Sure.
Because I do much better when I'm visualizing.
That's
and
why I'm not
digesting.
asking, because it's a moving target.
Sure.
It's fluid. We're still working. I got an email at 3:51 today, because we're trying to lock down some numbers, and that's why I'm not asking for anything formal here right now, because I wouldn't like to be overwhelmed with this, but I want to recommend something to you,
sure.
and I want you to know what my thought process are, and that way, if you have an opinion about, well, we should keep it all or we should pass through it all, you know, that will help me form up the recommendation that I'm going to make to you.
Well, I think that it amounts to $2 a month for your ratepayer is impactful, because I've had some people approach me and they feel like this is just, it is a lot of money, but when you look at our budget and you look at the monies we deal with, it's not as much. I mean, it's not the pot of gold some people are ascribing it to be. And
No, they hear big numbers. I mean, when you hear $900 and some $1,000 in potential annual savings, you say, well, you know, if I get a piece of that, it's going to be a lot of money. But it's not. You know, if we pass through everything, it's $2 and something a month.
Right.
If we split that, it's $1 and something a month. Yet it, over 30,000 a month times 12 refills the coffers that of dollars that we've already expended.
Yeah, I think when you're sending it out, if you can kind of give the dollar breakout, what the total money potentially could be, what the expenses were that we incurred, and then the breakout so that we know, is that 50% the right number to help cover our costs? You know?
Right.
That'd be helpful to me. And my assumption is that the financial statements are already reflective of the hit that we took financially during last fiscal year, right?
No,
Or have we, I mean, because we were gonna accrue some expense there, right, for,
well, see if you.
Bad debts?
Yeah, well, and that's part of the ongoing situation because we're still working with a lot of our customers and will continue to work.
determine whether or not they are bad
Because
debts.
we're not, yeah, and we're not out of this yet. So it's not like we just want to shut the door on folks that have an ongoing problem.
But you are reserving, have y'all been reserving some along the way
Absolutely.
though?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Rather than sending $2 out to everybody across the border, have you thought about just putting that in a fund to pay for the same kind of thing if it continues into the future for a while?
Well, we wouldn't have this credit the way TVA has designed it. Part of the stipulation is it has to be applied evenly through the rate class. So it can't be targeted to those folks that are having a problem and at the exclusion of the ones that aren't. Because everything with TVA is everybody gets treated the same. So we can't say, well, if we accept this as part of our general fund and not allocate that at all, and we say, well, we can reserve this because we don't know what the future holds, and I don't know that if we can reserve that in a special fund, but it would certainly increase our revenue and increase our net income, which would give us more flexibility to make decisions about further offsetting bad debts, for example. I mean, that's something that we could do.
You can do that? I mean,
Yes,
TVA
sir.
allows you to do that?
Yes, sir.
I would think that would be a lot of benefit to those folks who ultimately don't get out of this hole.
I think you're right. The reservation that I have is that TVA has given us a opportunity to have a reduction in our wholesale power cost, which impacts dollar for dollar our bottom line. And that we have an opportunity then to address all of our customers with some sort of a credit. Every one. Now, a segment of those that are mostly impacted by this have already received a benefit from CUB by our discontinuance of termination and our forgiveness,
Forbearance.
our forbearance. So this is an opportunity to say, well, even those that have paid their bill on time, and I don't know what their situation is, if it's savings or whatever, we recognize that because TVA has recognized us as the ability to give that back to everybody, you know. And even though it's not very much, the fact that everyone's getting treated the same way, you know. I mean, so the question would be, if you have a credit and if you have the ability to pass that through, why are you withholding my credit at the expense of someone else to give it to someone else? That's the thing that we would avoid to do that. Because I don't know that anyone in this room is for a draconian approach to someone that's been out of work, a service worker or whatever, and they have no money and they have no immediate prospect. They're waiting on a stimulus fund from the government, and can we hold their bill for 3 weeks. You know, they're gonna get a very favorable response in our ability to try to work with them.
By distributing it evenly across all of our customer base, would that inhibit our ability in the future to help people who are in a bind?
No, no, because we're doing that now. We're doing that now. And, you know, there is a balancing, there'll always be a balancing on when do you pull the trigger. And that's why we take every case now individually and certainly compassionately. You know, what's your situation and what's the prospect of you coming out of that situation? Because if you have to make a hard call, if you've got to make a hard call, you need to go ahead and make that call. If you need to go and move back in with your grandparents, you need to, I mean, if there's no prospect for what your future is, you need to start making some hard decisions. And we'll work with you as you transition into those hard decisions. But if you think, well, I'm going to be going back to work on the 15th, I get my first check on the 22nd, you know, can you hold it till then? They're going to have a very a positive response from us. But there is actual real dollar cost that we've already incurred. There is an unknown cost as we go into the future. And essentially, I see an opportunity for a win-win. And the win-win is recover some of the costs that we've already incurred and essentially margin and leverage the cost that we are going to incur and still have an opportunity to give some of this back. I think most utilities, and I think it's something like it was 79 to 8 or less that we're just going to not give anything back as opposed to those that we're going to pass through. I don't know many, if any, that are trying to do this hybrid method.
Could you include some of those numbers too?
Sure.
Because
Well, we
I would
get
assume
this-
we're able to do what we're doing because of the financial shape that we're in.
No question about it.
And that needs
some
to be,
some utilities that are holding tight are in dire straits. They are in dire straits. They're actually having a difficult time paying their power bill because the cost of the power bill and the receipts the revenues that are coming in are not matching up. So their reserves are actually dipping substantially because they were in bad shape to begin with. You know, I mean, the truth of the matter is they were in terrible financial shape to begin with. And this additional burden on them has been more than they can bear. So TVA has provided opportunities for them to essentially borrow their power bill back from TVA at a low interest rate.
anybody else have any other questions or?
So we'll have something out to you on that. And finally, I think finally, there may be a finally somewhere on this. Finally. I'm sorry I got carried away. You know, I had it right here in front of me, Steve, and you were watching me. How come, here we go.
Your sleight of hand got
I am, it did, there was too much now. To keep you in the loop. Yesterday I met with the Leadership Advance team for the Regional Economic Development Transition to incorporate Knoxville and Knox County into what now serves the MSA, that ETEDA, East Tennessee Economic Development Agency, for regional marketing, the voice of the regional marketing for our Knoxville MSA. Heretofore, it's been fragmented. Some of you may have heard the term Innovation Valley. That was the Knoxville Chamber piece of their attempt to market regionally. Unfortunately, after many dollars and about 5 or 6 years, that was stamped a failure, and they disbanded that and defunded that. And now in discussions with the Knoxville County Mayor, we have an opportunity we see in order to bring everybody in under the same umbrella. And that's what we're really working very hard to do. Have one voice, one marketing agency that looks at Knoxville as the hub of the wheel and the MSA that surrounds that, which we are part of, in order to market our region nationally and internationally, in order to pull in some of these big whales that some of these other places have done. And part of the reason is they're all out there with one voice. They don't have 5 tents set up out there as they're trying to recruit these folks. It just doesn't work. So we see an opportunity. We've had some key folks retire and some key folks get fired, and the stars are now lining up that we're thinking this is gonna move forward, and I'm very excited about that. Anderson County is playing a big part of that, obviously. CUB is playing a big part in that, this small group trying to push this thing forward. So I want to let you know that that's on the go, and it is progressing. It is imperative when we look at opportunities like Bull Run in order to make what I see as a significant regional industrial park. What that'll mean to our whole area and the surrounding counties associated with that. It's a big deal, and so we only speak with one voice. To have this region, because TVA will be part of this regional development. I think ETEDA right now will be the voice of how to transition forward. But at the end of the day, I see a new organization, a new umbrella organization that will be responding and be responsive to this regional market economic development. Just to keep you in the loop, there's a lot going on. The last thing I sent out to you a suggested memorandum of understanding. We're working with the Hollingsworth Foundation on Aspire Park. I think it's working very well. We are working very well together. I think that we have unanimity in the desire to positively move forward and to overcome whatever obstacles are out there. And in a project like this, there's a lot all the time. The details are amazing. But Joe and his folks wanted to get down into some type of pen and ink, what the understanding was, and I told him as far as I was concerned, we're fine going forward because every way that we can help him, we're going to do it. But if he wanted to get something in writing, he can go ahead and fire that thing out. We'll take a look at it. He fired that out, and because of the specificity of it, I felt it appropriate that we become more specific in getting a response. All under the prism of protecting the ratepayers, both electric, water, and wastewater, that there is no subsidizing this project. And that's really the main concern that I have, moving forward without subsidizing that. And I told Joe that up front. And everything that we have in this MOU, every red line addition and that you see in there is, as you've already got an understanding if you've read it, it's all to protect Cub and the ratepayers in doing that. But know this, that everything that we can do, we are not a reluctant partner in this. We are proactive to be a support in making what I consider is going to be a tremendous asset for our community and region, really, to move forward. Cub doesn't want to be an obstacle in doing that, but we will be vigilant in making sure that we hold the tenet of support for the ratepayers and protection for the ratepayers and the ratepayer money. So my intention is, unless I hear different from you, is I'm gonna send it, because I haven't sent it back to Joe, I'll send that back to Joe and say, if you want something in writing, we're willing to sign off on this. If you don't want anything in writing, we'll rock and roll like we're doing, you know. I've got TVA now searching every contract that they ever written for anybody to try to come up with a template for, because I see this as a 50-year contract and not a sale of property. And that will be renewable, assuming that it's used for this intended purpose. And if it's not used for this intended purpose, then it reverts back to CUB, and all the structures are removed. You know, no safety hazards involved, and we're held harmless for any liability associated with that. So, I mean, the desire's there, and I know that they do this for great industrial sites. I just haven't been able yet to pull a template out from them, but they're promising me they're working on it.
Does anyone have any questions or concerns?
I like the idea of having something in writing, because if it is gonna go 50 years, then none of us gonna be around here.
Well,
So-
this is for yes.
I mean,
We've-
just in general,
we have
not
got
that
to-
Zach probably feels differently either, but.
We have
I'm
got
sure.
to have a contract.
Yeah, you gotta
If
have
we
something.
get into that, but not for an access road and not for anyway.
Yeah, well, the only reason I say it is, you know, dealing with, you know, it is local and everything, but, you know, with a nonprofit and so forth, you just don't know where the parties are, who the parties are gonna be, so, yeah, this is the MOU, I mean, it's tight, so.
It's tight.
Any other questions?
We still can't get the tank painted orange and white rather than blue.
You know, I think that there is a way that could happen, you know, but the trade-off would be steep. Checkered.
Any other questions or concerns?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Related comment, and I have not verified this. Do y'all know, Bill Miller, Green Ridge Landscaping? Anyway, I talked to Bill today. He was up at the Hollingsworth development on the 4-lane, the 102 lot up there. And I think they were giving him some dirt. And he was talking to somebody up there who was giving him the dirt. And he said, the guy told me that every lot in this subdivision has already been sold to developers, I assume. But I'd like to think maybe we had something to do with all of that moving forward.
I
with
can
the
tell
work
you
we did.
this, without knowing anything, we will never get credit for moving anything forward on that at all, ever, ever.
He had to modify his sewer system, but.
Oh, no doubt about
I think
it,
we-
that's right, but, and I don't think it would have sold without it. And I think that's what you're talking about. But, no, I don't see us ever getting, we won't get one of these coming out of that, I'll just tell you that.
Well, it's good news to hear, though, that they're having success. So that's,
What I heard is
that's
true,
wonderful.
it is, yeah.
It's good. Kenny, I like going around. Do you have anything that you
Well,
want?
I'd just like to say, just going back to the safety audit.
Yes, sir.
I think that's really a big deal.
Thank you.
Whatever your safety culture is, how you're getting that across to your employees, it's really working. I mean, I know your first objective is to make sure everybody goes back with the same number of fingers and
Right.
toes and everything that they come to work with. So even going down to your frontline supervisors that are out on the road, you know, with these guys and the message you're getting across and having the guys follow the procedures, tells me that the procedures are all in line and that they're following the procedures, you know, as written. So I just, I think that's really a big deal with you guys, and I applaud you guys for getting the perfect score.
Thank you, and I can't give enough credit to the people that deserve it.
Yeah.
And that is the directors and the supervisors, all the way down to the foremen, in both water, sewer, and electric. outstanding job. Todd Loggins and Greg Jones have taken this to heart, and they're serious about it.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Clapp?
Nothing.
Mr. Combs?
I will, sir.
Madam Vice?
Just want to reiterate what Steve said. That's wonderful to have that kind of safety audit. That's. I know. You can't beat
We're
it,
gonna go
but
down.
Publicly, thank you, and thank you to the employees that made all that happen. I know that was a team effort.
Thank you.
Do we get any kind of accreditation or certification based on that?
Yeah.
Could we be out of business if we fail that safety audit?
Well, what it would do is it would kill our insurance. You know, they just wouldn't insure us. We wouldn't be able to get it.
That'd do it.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to just say quickly, I have the honor and the privilege to get to know some of our employees in a non-professional setting in the Clinch Valley CrossFit community. And I wanted to note that one of our employees, Jason Lane, was the workout athlete of the month. And so Jason Lane, if you guys know him, if you don't know him, Jason Lane is as big as a bear. And he is a specimen of a man, and but he couldn't be a better person and a more gentle soul.
Yeah,
And,
they're all that way.
and so I applaud the employees that have taken their health serious, and I know a bunch of them are out there that are working to improve their health, and that's one of the best things we can do, I think, to prevent COVID right now is to stay healthy. So congratulations to Mr. Jason Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and maybe later you can explain if there's any other opportunities you had to get to meet any of our other employees. So,
Always in a good way. Well, with that being said, I will move to adjourn.